While I pull this up and get my YouTube on my tablet going, and I'll tell you what we're going to talk about. This is not going to be a long video, but I do want to touch base on this subject because I'm going to use Sweetwater. It doesn't really matter. I'm just opening this up to have something so you can look at, because obviously I'm not going to be looking at myself, or you won't be looking at me at least. All right, so let's see if I can go to a video. There we go. Now I can see your comments if you decide to comment on it. Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about myself. And what's up, SimCity? I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'm going to tell you about my experience, and then you can comment your experience in the chat and we'll talk about it. All right, so G.A.S, gear acquisition syndrome, however you want to term it, is just the really wanting more gear all the time. So my going back to my story, I play guitar. I play a little bit of bass. I can play a little drums. I can play a little bit of everything. Right? I can play the keys. Um, my father was a trumpet player, and I basically grew up in somewhat of a musical family to some degree, not completely, but when I was younger, I wanted to play the trumpet because my dad had one and he was really good at it. You play guitar too, SimCity? Yes, indeed. Um, so when I was younger, he sold the trumpet that he had off to some kid, I guess, that was learning in school. And I was a kid too, and I wanted to do it, but he didn't want me to get involved in it. Perhaps he knew the cost of what it would be to continue to do that. I don't know. Perhaps he needed the money. I can't say the answer to that. My dad never touched the instrument after that, and he never played music again. So he did it for a little bit. Yo, you got to have pipes to play trumpet. Yeah, my dad was pretty solid. He played in Miami Dolphin Stadium one time with, I guess, a band or something. But anyway, that was his thing. That's the only story he ever talked about it, and he never talked about it again after he had a family. He just took care of his family and did something totally different, right? Well, growing up, I have other family in the music. I'm not going to tell you who my family are as far as musicians. There are a few that are famous, and I'm not going to talk about it. But I will say they have made records that you know. Okay, you've heard these records. Anywho, moving on back to me. So that was my early start of music, and I wanted to play instruments, but I never could afford them. Just like most people, right? They can't afford them. Thank you, SimCity. I appreciate that. Yeah. So fast forward a little bit, I got my first MIDI controller with a keyboard with with all that kind of stuff. I had a couple little other whatever keyboards. Started learning a little bit of keys. Took some piano lessons in college and learned a little bit about the piano. That was the first instrument I played, and then eventually, because I really enjoyed Prince, I wanted to play guitar. Right? Who doesn't get inspired by a person you like? So I played guitar eventually. And I learned most of the guitar actually from watching YouTube videos. Shocking, I know, but I learned how to play it and I already kind of knew what chords were and all that stuff from playing piano. So then, fast forward a little further, I decided to jump into bass. Now, recently, prior to all this, I was still recording. So I started in Fruity Loops when it very first came out. I mean, like when it first came out, it was like not even close to what it is nowadays. Went to Reason, then eventually to Logic, and then I started in Logic 8, and then eventually, recently, within the last couple years, I started going to Ableton, and I felt like Ableton inspired me. Oh, Prince Purple Rain, yeah. Yeah, Prince Purple Rain. Prince everything. I even like the stuff that people don't know of Prince, the stuff what do they call that? The cuts that just don't get the popularity. All right, so now that you know that, you kind of know my history a little bit, you know why what I do music wise. I was super into like funk, R&B, soul always. And then recently, I got struck by the jazz bug. I always liked jazz, but I thought it was just too complicated to play, and so I got struck by the jazz bug and started messing around with jazz and horns and stuff, kind of reliving the records that my dad used to play, Chuck Mangione, stuff like that. That's who he liked, right? So started getting into that kind of stuff. And of course, now I have a little record collection. I like to listen to records. So the reason why I titled this video "Gas versus Gear Hoarding versus Collecting" is there's three different type of people, right? Really, when you break it down into the music world, well, there's four technically, but those are the three we're going to discuss. I'll tell you who the fourth one is. So the first one is gas. People who just they all they do is watch YouTube videos, they look at gear and they just want it like so badly that they'll go to whatever extreme to get it. Probably not the healthiest way to look at gear. Um, but then there's worse situations like called gear hoarding. Gear hoarding is people who just like to buy stuff just to hoard it. They literally that's what they do. If you ever seen those they used to have a show with the hoarding or whatever, where people would just have so much stuff piled up that that's what they would do. They would just keep it. Now, if I had to say who I would fall between those two, I'm more of the gas person than I am the gear hoarding. If you've ever watched this channel, you know I don't keep a lot of stuff that you see me use. I'll try it and I'll get rid of it. Sometimes I'll get rid of something and then buy it again. It just happens, right? Because you get something maybe gets updated and you get gas for it. Now, it used to be for those that have been doing music for a little while that you could go out into a store and actually try the gear in the store. They would have it on display. Literally, when the MPC first came out, or the MPC Live first came out, I'm just going to use that one as an example. They had one in the store, and you could go in there. And I tried it maybe for weeks. I would just mess with that thing and try it, and I thought it was cool. Couldn't really afford it at the time, and really didn't have a need for it at the time because I was just using the computer, which I felt like was sufficient. So then I went through a lull period where I didn't touch music. I didn't even make music. I would play guitar, but I wouldn't really like record anything. So I didn't have a computer to record. I didn't have any gear except for a guitar, and I would just play it. But it's funny because I look back and I only had one guitar the whole time, right? I would never keep two, and people would be like, "Why don't you keep this one? What's up, Crazy Wabbit? What's good with you too? That's good to see you." So I had guitars. So I would trade in a guitar to get the next guitar, right? It was like I'd buy one, play it for a month, maybe a couple months. If I really liked it, then I'd take it right back to the store and I would just get something else. And that was kind of, you always take a hit if you had to sell it, but that was kind of my thing. And I would buy pedals and I would buy all this stuff. And then I came to one day where I just like, I prefer like your taste change, right? And so now all you want to do is just play music and you don't really care about all that extra stuff. So I went straight acoustic. And that's how I played music. It was just straight acoustic for a long time. Then I wanted a nylon guitar because I love nylon, but it was electric nylon. So I bought that. So I can say I've been through gear after gear after gear. And so I understand what gas is, but I don't get the gear hoarding. And what I mean by that is people will go broke on purpose just to keep something that they're really not going to use. So my thought is if you do have a form of gas and gear hoarding, why not go and just trade in the pieces you have to get the next piece of gear? Even though you're going to take a hit to some degree, that's everything you buy depreciates, right? Gear depreciates. Some of it slower than others, depending on how, well invested you are into that gear. If you bought something quality, but even with guitars, the wood they're made out of, the name brand, the everything matters, right? When you're buying. But people here, let's look at some guitars while we talk about this. People will spend a ton of money on, let's just go electric because people tend to think about solid bodies. We're not going to get into grave details of which electric you should get. I mean, I'm not here to tell you what to get. You get what you like, but look at these prices on some of these guitars: $4,000, 6,000, 5,000. I'm just using. These are top quality guitars that sound good and have a great resale, like a 1959 Gibson Custom. Now I'm showing you guitars just because it's just what we were just talking about. You can look at anything, but guitars are right here. See these costs? So people will spend $3,000 on it, and they do depreciate, and then they'll come back and look at, like, if you look down here at an open box, they'll have an open box one for a couple $100 less, Or if you find somebody selling it used, they might be selling it for even $1,000 less just to get rid of it, right? So what I say is gear hoarding is a weird thing to me. It's not that somebody shouldn't or can't if you got the space for it, if you got the money and the time and the everything, but the managing, the keeping up of stuff and all this to keep all this gear only to want turn around and want something else a few minutes later is like it's just weird to me. So what I say is sell it. That's my motto. Now I'm speaking for myself. I'm not telling you what exactly to do, but that's my motto when it comes to gear. If I'm not going to play it, there's no purpose in keeping it. But then again, there's that other guy that I mentioned in the title. Let me read a few comments. We can't tell people what to do that have a problem or addiction. They need to figure it out. That is true. Again, I'm speaking on my experiences. Adults do not like to be told or given advice. Egos get in the way. Of course, of course. It don't mean they don't need to hear it though. It just means they don't like it. Just like a kid needs to be told what to do a lot of times. They don't may not like it, but then later on they might thank their parents. I've done that before. Thank your parent for telling you that because you realize how much it helped you to be a better person. So there's nothing wrong with that. And again, not telling a person again what to do, just telling you the experience and the different type of people there are. You have to figure out what type of person you are, and then if you need to make adjustments, make adjustments. Maybe they were traumatized as a kid when mommy and daddy said no, you can't have those frosted flakes. That is hilarious. Yeah, no, I get it. Listen, everybody goes through something that scopes the way they think or the way their experience in life kind of dictates how they move, but doesn't mean you can't grow from it and learn from it. And you can learn from other people's experience too. So that's the reason why I'm doing this video, just because my experience has some merit, some weight. This little dog just wants to sit beneath me. Um, has some merit and weight, and your experience does too. So feel free to comment about it. I got MPC one microphone, mini keyboard, audio interface, Novation mini pad, and talk box. That's enough for me. I can't get no more. It starts to get no. Yeah, I feel you on that clutter, SimCity. That clutter is real. Yeah, I think you're right, Crazy Rabbit. Stories do help. I like hearing other people's stories too. So I'm just sharing my story, taking it, and the thoughts, or as far as collecting, I get it. So there are these people that will buy these expensive watches, right? That I think John Mayer is one of them. Just an example of somebody you would know. He buys really expensive watches. I think Ed Sheeran does too. And a few other people do that. They buy expensive watches and they put them in these safes and they collect them, and they're worth a lot of money. They spend a lot, but they're worth a lot. So you think about stuff like that, there is some value to buying expensive items and keeping it and maybe storing it somewhere. Some of these guitars probably won't be worth $4,000, but some of them may be down the road, could be worth $10,000. You never know if you have the ability to save it and hold on to it. The reality comes down to, can you afford it? Now, this is just guitars. You can go to any instrument you look at, synthesizers, whatever you want to look at, and all of it has a price. It's just whether it's worthy to you. Here's that Montage M8X 88 key synthesizer, $4,500. Now, to me, that's not 4,500 worthy, but that's because I don't have room for an 88 key, nor do I have 4,500 that I'm willing to spend, and nor am I performing live. So for me, it's not justified, right? And I'm just speaking from my experience. For somebody else, it may be. They have the space, they have the money, they have the time to upkeep these instruments. You do have to keep them clean. You got to keep them in working condition, right? Here's that Arturia Polybrute 12. It's amazing looking, sounds cool, $4,000. So I'm not here to tell you what not to buy or why you should buy this one or that one. I don't care what you buy. That's your choice, right? My thought is figure out what type of person you are. Are you a collector? If you're a collector, then it makes sense. You might go out and buy something, right? Like that. But if you're a gear hoarder, you have to think about that. Is that healthy to hoard gear? Is it really, do you have the space for hoarding gear? Do you have the space? Um, Do you have, I see people that they barely can afford their car note or barely can afford anything else, right? But they have all this gear. It's just sitting at their house, and it's like, man. But that's their choice, right? They have to make a choice. Again, figure out what type of person you are and roll with it. What's up, Beats by Barton? My gas is pretty bad, actually, but I found a solution just not watching 30 videos. There you go. See, 30 videos of some new gear I want helps, right? Don't watch it if it's a problem, especially if you know it's good. It's cool to see people like you, Beats by Barton, that actually recognize, hey, I got a problem with it. You hear other YouTubers who even say it. I've said it myself. Like it's certain gear that I want that I'm like looking at all the time. Um, window shopping, I guess, too much when you know you really can't afford to get it. But I will say this, sometimes it's just like, well, what are you willing to part with? Are you willing to give up something else to get that? To me, that's okay. Like you can have gas, but then what if you're willing to let go of something to be able to get something else? See, that to me is a sacrifice, right? So you got to figure out what's your sacrifice that you're willing to do. I mean, obviously, you better not, hopefully, you're not sacrificing your family to do this unless even if you're doing a professional, it's like, nah, your family is worth more than a piece of gear. This stuff depreciates your family value is way more important. However, some people don't feel that way, unfortunately, and they'll spend an arm and a leg trying to get a piece of gear. And I just think of it this way too. Like, there's also the used market, right? So if you go to like, I'm just going to use Reverb.com just because it's easier to use. So like, you can go to Reverb. Let's say you want an SP404. You don't have, this is like a new price, right? Like 560, and this is kind of what they're going for right now. I've seen them for like 500. But then you might be able to window shop for a little bit with it, right? And find something for 420, or maybe you see something even less where somebody's willing to get rid of it. Or they may say they'll take another offer on it. Here's one for 399. So shopping used gear could help to diffuse some of that cost that you have. So the idea is not to say tell you what to do, but just to help you to think about yourself, right? And we all have to think about ourselves. When you see somebody on YouTube with a piece of gear, maybe they got it for free, you don't know. Maybe they got it at a discounted price. Maybe they had the money and they wanted that piece of gear, or they sold everything else they got to get that. You never know. Whatever the case is, we all have to treat each other with kindness to some degree, and really not try to, because you see these people belittling folks that because they got something for free, or because they got, that's pretty bad. Like that's pretty lame of a person to do that. Like if someone has some gear that you like, just be grateful they got it and watch their videos if you really like it, and save up and get it yourself. Or if you got other gear sitting at home, then sell some of that gear if you're not using it, right? Or you don't think you'll use it. And the one thing I've noticed, there's not too much of a shortage on gear. So it's not like back in the day when gear was like, man, to get a piece of gear was crazy. The prices were insane. Now, this gear is made so cheap that you can get this gear later. And you know what I'm saying? You can get a SP404 Mark II pretty much later on down the road. It'll still be right around 300 bucks, 200, $300, right? I'm talking about years later, 10 years from now or whatever. It's the likelihood of this going up that high is going to be slim, because it's not even made, it's so digital. It's not like back in the day where where you had this digital gear, but it was like a lot more analog circuitry through it, to where it was like, wow, a lot of stuff is motherboards and stuff that they put together. So, anyway, that's my thoughts on it. I'm looking forward to hearing more of yours in the chat. I had to clean up my setup. It was really blocking my music creativity. Absolutely. Part of that, for me, SimCity 2 was like switching over to Ableton helped a lot, because like I was looking at plugins I wanted, and then I found there's a lot of people, creative people, that have made Max for Live plugins that actually work the same. For I'll give you an example right now. There's a plugin called God Particle. It's like a mastering type plugin that's out there, and I think they charge $100 for it. It's on sale, maybe 150 new. Somebody made here's I'm gonna just show it to you right here. Somebody made a version of it in Ableton, to represent and do the same thing it does. How much? Guess how much I paid for that? $8. In case you want to know, $8. Now I use that on my track, and I saved myself from having to spend $150 for a plugin. Right? A lot of these plugins do the same thing that you already have with plugins that you have. You just got to figure out what they're using to create that combination, right? So you can save money. Now, when you get back to gear, it doesn't replace gear. Absolutely not, right? A plugin is a plugin. It's not the same as having a piece of hardware sitting in front of you. But if you get a piece of gear and you realize, man, this is cool, but I'm not really going to use this, your options at that moment are to, with usually you have 30 days, right? Return that thing if you know you're not going to use it, or because now you just curve the gas, right? By go ahead and you've got it, you're feeling it, you're touching it. You with 2 weeks in on that thing and you realize I ain't really liking this. Send it back. I encourage you, send it back, save your money. Or if you want to keep it longer than 30 days, keep it and then sell it down the road. I mean, if you feel like it doesn't. Now, here's the one thing I see too. Don't buy gear with the intent of what it could do for you in the future. Who knows what the future holds? That company could go bankrupt the next in a month or whatever, and then you're stuck with a piece of gear that's not worth anything. So buy gear for what it does now. If you like what it does right at this moment, then buy it. That's what it's going to do. That's what you're guaranteed. Everything after that is not a guarantee. So it's good to keep that in mind when you're buying gear, right? Gear shopping. Teenage KO2 will be $50 in 5 years. You know what? I think the TE KO2 will be more than $50. And I'll tell you why. I had a pocket operator. Those things are $100. You could get them on sale for around $70, right? The PO33. That PO33, I sold it, even though I sold it to a guy who's in Sacramento, California. He's a musician, producer slash, he's a bedroom producer, but he's known, for his work. Let's just put it like that. Anyway, I sold it to him. Now I sold it for $50. He was willing to give me more than $50. But I sold it to him for 50 just because I liked the guy and he was really cool. And I'm telling you, man, that thing is still probably could be sold for easy $60, $70. I could have probably got a little bit more. It was $100 to buy it brand new, right? But I didn't mind selling it for a little less. I'm okay with that because I wanted to move the item. So I'll take the hit, right? I got my money's worth out of it by using it and et cetera, et cetera. So we don't have to look at Ableton. We can look back at some more gear. So what I'm saying, I say this to say that yes, somebody may sell it to you for $50. What is it worth? I mean, it's worth whatever people are buying it for at the time. But you can see here, like a PO33 is $99. Here's one for $80, right? These things have been out a while now, right? And they're still selling brand new at 100 and used 75, right? That's a good number. $75. It's probably a target number. This thing looks like the picture's a little dark, can't really tell. But here it is again, $75. So I say this to say they hold their value pretty good. The teenage engineering stuff does hold its value. Let's look at this. Watch here, I'll show you. OP1, right? We're just gonna look at the original, not the field, but the original. This is the field. It's $2,000. So here's an original. Here's an original. Here's an original. When they first came out, if you know TE, they were like, I think they were $899, right? That was the going price. Eventually, they went up to that higher cost. I think they're around $12.99 or something like that. But look at what they're still selling for. Local, $750, $700, $640, $700. Still, people are buying these things at $700. Back in the day, my friend was like, the more plugging, the better producer you'll be. That is funny. Yeah, I know you can make hits on your phone. I used to mess with Caustic 3 and that made nice. But yeah, you can make, man, listen, you can make stuff on your phone. You can make stuff. I mean, Koala is a great example of a $15 app. If you buy everything in it, I think it's like 15 bucks. And you already have your phone. You're going to use your phone for other stuff. And you can make music right on your phone and not even chop beats up and do everything right there on your phone. So it's not the gear, it's the person. Though I will say gear can inspire you to make stuff, right? Because it makes you work in a different method. So does your phone have synthesizers on it? Yeah, absolutely. There are AUV3s that are on iPhone that work just fine. You can create music. You can use Android, has a few musical instruments on it, not as many as iPhone. But look, but you can use your phone and do it. Koala's on the Android and on the iPhone. So this is what I'm saying. Use what you got. If you want gear though, just understand that gear has a resale value. You can't resell an app. You can resell plugins. Certain plugins allow you to sell the license. Like Ableton, you can sell the license to somebody to have it. But you generally can't. If you get a plugin on your iPhone, you can't be like, I'm gonna sell my iPhone plugin to anybody. It doesn't work that way. But gear does. So there is a reason why these some of these items will hold their value to some degree. If you go look at the SP 303, let's look at a 303. These things have been out forever, ever, and they're still going around 300 bucks. Look at this. Some of them even more. This one looks really clean. 350. This one's a little overpriced. But you see what I'm saying? So the gear can hold its value and still have something where you can resell. People like resell because they can get something from it. And that's a big part of buying gear. OP way too much. You know what? The OP is way too much if you don't use it. I've had both of them at this point, and I found what I didn't like about them was the sounds. It wasn't the gear itself. I love the gear. It was fun to play on. It was the sound and it wasn't good. Even the field, I didn't care for the field, the sound of the instruments, not the field itself. Like if I sampled into it, it was fine. I'm just talking about the actual instruments they played in there was not good. Now this new one sounds really good to me. Sounds like they put more thought into the synthesizers. They sound a lot better. They're more useful, and of course, you can always build your own synth with the multi-sample. So that's pretty cool. Those jacking up the prices on these OP and other gear need to get the bid. Oh well, listen, we're in a world where it's about the seller's choice to put it where they want it. And, if the consumer buys it, then he buys it, right? If he don't buy it, he don't. Do I agree with all the pricing? No, but I don't agree with the pricing on eggs and milk and cheese and the other pricing for food that is a necessity have gone out the roof. I don't know when the last time anybody went shopping at the grocery store, but the prices on food is insane. Go out to eat, and what may have cost you $5, $10 5 or 10 years ago is not. You can't even get a 99 cents burger these days. Everything's like $3 for a burger, for a cheap burger. Food jackers can get the crazy rabbit. You funny, bro. I like you. That's too funny. Oh man, listen, we're in a time where people are literally like obsessed with overcharging concert tickets, um, sports arenas. Um, and guess what? As long as people are paying for it, they're going to continue to do it. It's just what it is. So I'm not here to boycott or say don't buy gear or don't buy. You can you can not buy stuff, sure. I mean, you don't have to. Um, but my thought process just is get what you really are going to use. If you're using it, it's worth it. If you're not, then it ain't worth it. That's just what it is. It's not worth it if you're not using it. So here's the P6. Check this out. So here's an attachment to better put your iPhone or iPad on with your. They want $44 for this for a holder to hold a P6 in your phone. The P6 itself is about 220, right? That's what they are brand new, 220. They want a fourth of that to give you a holder that they've made probably on a computer. They probably did it on like one of those little printers, and they're charging $44 for a plastic holder. So if we're talking about price, this has nothing to do with just a company that's big selling. There's people that are just doing that too. In general, they're upping prices of stuff to make. That's how they're making money. And our paychecks are not getting buff. That is so true. I put down my old man fist. Laps are a lot cheaper than that holder. Absolutely, laps are cheaper than that holder for sure. But you see what I'm saying though, right? Like it's not just big companies. It's and then they need $11 for shipping. So I take that back. You're talking about $54, $55 plus tax to get a holder that's gonna hold your phone and your P whatever, because it fits all of them, right? Let's not talk about Deck Saver. You want to check out Deck Saver for a second here? We're talking about the stuff to cover your gear to protect it, right? Deck Saver. Let's watch this. Let's look at the OP1 Deck Saver. If they have it. Oh, they don't even have it on here. Okay, so let's just go Deck Saver in general. Just look at Deck Saver. So here's something to protect your gear. $60 for your KO2. Okay, $60 for your. Look at this one for. Hold on a second. Let's go. Here's one. No, not that one. Where is the one? Oh, look at this one. That's $360 for that one. I'm not even gonna get too far into this, but a deck saver for a mini 2 MPK, $40 basically. Now, who in their right mind needs to pay $40 for a deck saver for a little inexpensive keyboard that costs you probably $100 when you bought it? You're paying almost half the cost of the dang keyboard. You might as well just get the keyboard again. You could buy two for the price of a deck saver. Deck Saver's out of the UK, if I'm not mistaken. That's where they are, out of the UK. So I'm just saying, everywhere you go, it's just the world we live in. $60 is just plastic. Exactly. Put a blanket over it or something. Everywhere you go, there's going to be a price. So this video is not to knock one company, because you can't. Because all these companies are doing this. And food. I'm not even going to look up food prices. Y'all just go to the grocery store. You can look at that yourself, okay? It's crazy. It's just the world we live in. So I don't get on here to rant about, oh, this price should be this or that. I don't care. You know why? Because it's going to be whatever they choose for it to be. And the question is, do you want it? If you have gas and you want it so bad, you're going to go get it. That's what you're going to do, right? That's the type of person you are. If you're a gear hoarder, you know you're going to get it because that's what you believe in, gear hoarding. You're in the UK, SimCity? Yeah, you probably seen them prices. You know what's up. And then collecting, you already know you're going to spend it because you're a collector, right? You're holding on to it. Then there's the type of person that I am, and I'm a little bit different. I carry a bit of the gas like everybody does, but I'm more of a player. If I don't use it and play with it and actually put it to use, if I use it one day and I put that thing away and I don't touch it for a month, there's a problem. That means I'm not inspired to use it. That means it's not doing what it should do, which is inspire me to use it. Another problem that I find too that people do is this thing here, and I did it. I'm guilty, right? I'm showing you my guilt. Buying a case. When I play guitar, one of the things they used to say with guitar was never put your guitar in a case. They said don't do it because they know if you put it in a case, then you would never pull it out and use it. Right? Now I pulled this out just the other day because I was messing with it, but not on camera. But I'm just saying, there's let me show you this. Bought this from this guy. It was supposed to work, and it does work, but the problem is I asked him to make one change and he hadn't contacted me yet. It was supposed to be a controller with the little slider thing. Yeah, that thing was a waste of money. You want to talk about waste of money? So how many times have we wasted money on stuff or buy something that we never use? I can go down the list. You want to see something else I bought that's like a waste of money right now? This little guy. This is the Centra mixer. It's a cool little mixer slash whatever you want it to be, but it sits in this case and I never use it. Why? Because I use the MacBook's headphone out and I just plug some headphones in. So I don't have a real use for this case. So these are things when I say this, these are things that you can sell, that you can get rid of. I don't know why I kept that you can sell and get rid of and put that money towards some other gear so that you're not spending a bunch of money out of pocket all the time for new gear that you want to have. And only get gear after you completely committed that you're going to use the gear, because I've been guilty of that too, where and everything I'm saying to you is my guilt too of doing stuff like this, okay? So I'm not saying it at you, I'm saying it with you because we all do it. Anybody that's ever been into gear, you know what that feels like. You constantly like want something new or want this or that. So I really wanted the SP202 just to run samples through. Basically a processor. $200. That would be a waste of money. So I instead of getting that $200 piece, I went with this $200 piece, right? Because for me, this was going to be more. Well, first of all, it's big, it's huge, it's not portable, and what I wanted from it was just the sound of processing the sound through it. So to me, to get this whole thing and deal with these old compact cards or whatever that are on here, these memory cards, it's just not worth it. So I went with something else that's portable. And either way, you can still sell this if you decide not to keep it. But you get my point. Buy what you're going to use. If you're not going to use it, just sell it or return it before your return date is up. And there's nothing wrong with that. See, like I said before, they used to have this stuff. Time to sell it on Rebirth for $1,000. There you go. They used to have this stuff in store, but since Amazon and all these other big companies took over, and now they're just doing everything online. The reason why they have these return policies is because they know good and well. See what I'm talking about? Look right here. 30-day return policy, 30-day return policy, 30-day return policy. Because they know you can't use this stuff in stores. You can't find it. These Guitar Center will be out of business if they weren't selling strings, and if they weren't selling uh, cables, and if they weren't selling lessons. Right? Those three things. I know the people at the Guitar Center here, like the managers and everything. If they didn't have those things selling, there would be no Guitar Center anymore. Because people don't go to stores anymore to buy instruments. They just buy them online for next to nothing, and that's it. Think about it, if you want a cheap guitar, you just jump on Amazon these days and get you a little acoustic guitar for next to nothing, and you play it for 2 days, and then you throw it in a corner or in a bag, and you never touch it. And then years later, you see it at a garage sale selling for like next to nothing. Now these are expensive acoustic guitars here, but something like a Yamaha, this is a pretty cheap one that you get for 220. You could go in a store right now on Black Friday or one of these sales, and you could get this stuff for probably like 150 bucks on sale, or buy it from somebody like here used for 300 or whatever you're going to spend, whatever your budget is. I mean, there's something for everybody's budget, right? That's out there. You just have to figure out what your budget is and what you're willing to break bread for. I'll try to read some more comments. I put a cloth over my gear. There you go. Cheaper for sure. I've done fall cleaning and about to throw several items on Reverb. They've been sitting on for months. Let someone have fun, or yeah, exactly. Let somebody else have fun with it and move that stuff out, and then you can get a new piece of gear, because whatever money you got, just put that money towards it. Now, I have been guilty of not selling gear on these. I have stole stuff on Reverb, eBay, but I've been guilty of not doing it recently because the cost for me to go through the headaches of dealing with people that want to think that you're a store versus you are just an individual selling one-on-one to them is insanity. And sometimes these people, they don't want to, they want to just get it to try it. And it's like, no, this is not a store. You do that with a store. With an individual, you just buy it. You commit to it and buy it. So that's a little different. But again, I just say that get rid of stuff if you have to. Gear hoarding is probably the worst of everything. Gas. Everybody's gonna have gas at some point. How strong it is, how you curve it. I mean, well, that's what you got to figure out. But gear hoarding is like just getting it just to get it, and you're not really gonna use it. Collecting, I understand, because you're buying pieces that you feel will have value down the road. That makes sense to me. And again, these are my thoughts. Continue. Let me read some more thoughts of yours. Um, you said that you had pedals. I used to have pedals. I don't have pedals anymore. Did you? Oh yeah, absolutely. I had a delay. If so, and if so, does hardware pedal? Um, when you say plugging in, you mean to a computer? Like plug it into a computer? Is that what you're talking about? Yes and no. So here's the question. There are some delay pedals that are really high tech and have a better quality, yes, because they are made with analog circuitry, but you're going to pay an arm and a leg. Nowadays, though, if I'm just a person that's playing and I'm not looking to spend that much, I go to Valhalla. It's $50. Every one of their plugins are $50. They're never on sale, but that's okay. They sound really good. So here's Valhalla delay right here. Disregard this Elizabeth Homeland. This is what it looks like. And then they give you a bunch of presets. I bought these presets from Tom Wolf. But this plugin here to me is one of the best. Now they offer a free one called Freak Echo or whatever. That's really good. I use some of the Ableton stuff sometimes. And that's perfectly fine. If you're just looking for a good delay, Valhalla delay is $50. I like it. I think it's the best for the cost. Um, and then there's some free ones within your DAW that you could use that'll be just fine. Excuse me, just fine if that's all that you're trying to do is just use something simple. I would go with something like that. I wouldn't go out and spend a arm and a leg for a delay pedal. I mean, there's delay pedal. Unless you're a collector and you're trying to go, I mean, see these pedals, like a lot of this stuff, that the digital ones and stuff, you can do this in your DAWs just fine. The memory echo stuff, same principle. They have people that emulate these pedals just fine. Now, if you're going out to get a Strymon, that's a little different. If you're going to get a Strymon, those are higher quality, or the Chase Bliss stuff. That stuff has the good analog circuitry. It's going to be sounding, it's going to sound better, perhaps to you, just because of the fact of the circuitry in it is better. But like a digital pedal with a little chip board inside of it is the same digital stuff you have elsewhere. It's not really going to be, it's all digital, right? So I wouldn't spend an arm and leg on a digital pedal. I just think that's not unless you're playing live somewhere, and then that's different. Now that's my opinion. Some other people might feel differently about that, but some people just want to touch the physical item. For me, I'm fine with using what's in the computer. Um, Goodwill is coming up to on the musical gear. Really, I haven't. We have a Goodwill where I live, but I haven't been there in a minute. I've been there before, just not in a while. Yes, I gave 2 acoustics to a charity shop. There you go. Give it something. Get a tax write off. Do something right with it. I don't like the cut they take. Yeah, so Guitar Center. If I mean, some of you don't live in the U.S., and I don't even know if there's Guitar Center in the U.K. But Guitar Center takes 60%. So whatever is selling for on eBay, like their average cost on eBay, they're going to take the average cost and then they're going to sell it to you, or they're going to sell it. Obviously, they mark it up, but they're going to give you 60% of what the average going rate is, and they keep 40% for them. So you take some. Obviously, you know what that means. If you go in there, they're going to sell it for 100. They're going to give you $60. They take 40 for every 100. That's how it works. Now, here's the benefit of doing that. The benefit is you get your money right then and there. You don't have to wait. If you go through eBay and all these other companies, sometimes they'll put a hold on your money. You have to wait sometimes for the product to be delivered to the person's house. You can't right away go buy your gear, but you get a little bit more money for whatever you're selling it for, right? So, but the wait is part of it. If you're trying to get something right now, because maybe there's a Black Friday sale, then Guitar Center is the better way to go because they're going, or whatever companies are around your area, um, because they're going to have the deals right then and there, and you want to get it at that cheaper cost. But if you can wait, then sell it on eBay or Reverb. All right. Free to sell on eBay now. I don't think it's free to sell. I think they charge, I don't know the percentage. At one point it was like I've calculated it was like 13% or something. It was kind of insane. but it might be higher than that. I don't know. Yeah, they do. eBay will always support the buyer generally more than the seller, which is why I don't use eBay unless I'm just trying to really get rid of something and I don't care about it. Like non-functioning things, sure, sell it on eBay. The person knows it's non-functioning. It's not a big deal. You're selling it off cheap anyway. You're just trying to get rid of it. Reverb leaves you. I never had any troubles with Reverb. I'll be honest. I never had any worries with them. They were fine. Um, but everybody that buy, well, here's a thought too. When people come to reverb.com to buy, they realize they're buying gear. When you're on eBay, you're opening up yourself to all these other people worldwide to look at this gear, and they may look at it and buy it, but eBay ain't just selling gear. They're selling other stuff too on there. So they're not as in tune with gear. And like I said, I haven't had any trouble with reverb.com. Um, Facebook and Craigslist is free. Now, yes, Facebook, Craigslist, free. But yeah, exactly. Crazy Rabbit, you already know. You're dealing with sketch folks. And that's one of the things why I don't use these to sell these opportunities to sell here. I don't have time for that haggling and folks for extra $20, $30. Now, if it's like $500, $600, we might have something on there. But if you're selling something like a pedal that's $100, I'm just picking one of these pedals. You probably this is brand is this new? No, it says excellent. Okay, so like this one's new, 85. They dropped the price on sale, 125. So let's say you're selling this pedal for $85, or let's say I'm selling it used for $75, and somebody's trying to get it down to 60. I'm like, you listen, I have to ship this thing to you, right? So I have to pay the shipping costs. There's taxes on stuff. There's all kinds of fees involved in it. You can only go so low before it's like I might as well just bring it to you and give it to you for free. That's the problem. People want something for nothing, and we don't. There's no way you can do that. So what I do is I'll go to Guitar Center, let them handle all that back end. They can sell it, and they're gonna have to push the item. As long as I get my 60%, then I'm not being hassled. I know what I'm getting up front. They're telling me you're getting 60%. Um, if I'm going pedals, if I'm really was going to buy pedals these days, though, I'm going Strymon or Chase Bliss. I'm not going to buy cheap pedals anymore. I just don't see the point of it. And I'm just saying that because I bought pedals in the past, and I just don't find it worth my time. But like something like this Strymon Night Sky Time Warp Reverberator, which I actually like and don't have, but would love to have one. And by the way, Strymon, I think, is started selling plugins now. So you could get some of their stuff as a plugin. Look how they have 8 favorites you can save right there, easy access, stuff like that. Now that's cool. This kind of stuff I like. Do I sing? No, I do not sing. My mom did, but I don't. Um, there's a cool harmony pedal out there as well. Can't remember the name of it. Harmony, like vocal harmony stuff. Vocal harmony pedal. Voice box. I know the TC Helicon. I've seen people use that. Yeah, unfortunately, I would never buy anything for singing. I just don't do it. Nobody wants to hear my nasally voice. I don't even want to hear it. Um, yeah, so there's stuff out there for vocals. Yeah, that the voice box. Yeah, voice box is cool. All these plugins are cool. I mean, plugins, pedals are cool, but so much of this stuff nowadays, unless you're performing live, can be done in a computer. And what's cool about having it in a computer is you can actually use Ableton or something like that to perform live. People plug in to Ableton all the time and do stuff right in that for looping and whatever else you're doing. I'm not really into that, but if that's your bag, right? Um, so yeah, so what were we talking? So gear, sell what you got to get something new. That's my motto. I'll leave it at that. You do what you want to do, but if you really want to get something new and you're not a collector, then just sell it. And listen, the gear will be out there somewhere for you to get it later. Unless if it's your prized piece and you love the piece so much you can't, well then it's not, obviously it's not for sale, right? It's something that you plan on keeping. So you got to determine that. That's not for anybody else to determine. But just know that if you buy a piece of gear and you've ever not bought a piece of gear, if you're brand new to buying it, you're gonna, it's a different thing. It's not gonna be the same as a DAW. I think when I bought into gear the first time, not the guitars, but like pedals and things like that, I had this thing in my imagination that it was gonna be more than what it was, and it just wasn't. It was exactly what it was. Just a piece of gear that does one thing. Some things do more than one. The electron boxes are kind of cool, but it is what it is. You just figure out what you like. So, for instance, I bought a Digitac when they first came out, and there was not a lot of videos out on it, and I had no clue how to use it. And it's not like your typical piece of gear, right? That you just get and super easy jump right into, unless you've been into gear for a long time. So I was like, man, what in the world? I ended up sending it back, and at that time, the Digitag one I think was $6.99, right? This is the new one. This is a B stock too. Where's a new one? Nope, that's all B stock. So a new one is not here. It is $9.99, right? I like it, but the problem I have with it is they don't let you do manual chopping. You got to put your chops in, your loop in has to be a perfect bar count for you to be able to chop it on, in the right spot. And it's like, I ain't paying you $1,000 for that. But let's say people are complaining about that price, then they go look at the OPXY and it's 23 or 2300. But it would take a Digitac 2, what is the other one called? I think the other one is called a Digitone. A Digitone 2, which is also 1,000, to get the same thing that's what's in an OPXY. Why do I say that? Because they're both sequencers, number one. So here's your sequencer here, and then the other so it's $2,000 for that. It's 23 for the OPX, and the OPX has basically the step components, right, to do all that cool effects and step stuff on it. It's more portable. It has a battery built into it, and you don't have to carry around two pieces of gear to do what one piece is already doing. I don't know. You tell me. So if you like gear and you're thinking about getting one or the other, if you had to choose, you just have to figure out: am I going to spend the 23 for the one, or am I going to buy two pieces of gear for that price? I mean, it comes down to what you like. I mean, people complain about. They're always First of all, people are always going to complain. That's just what they like to do. But they complain about this stuff, and it's like, well, this is the cost that of the time we live in. This is what it costs to do it. Now here's somebody selling a brand new one for 22. It's a little bit cheaper, but this is the general cost for it. It's 2,299, and eventually they will come down a little bit for you to get one if you really want one. And when you get it, you'll probably be happy that you got it. It is what it is. Oh, I see. They just included the shipping costs here. So technically it's the same price. So it's no different. So there you go. There, or you go back and you buy a bunch of Digitac and Digitone to get your two pieces. You used to use Melodyne. Melodyne is cool. I've used that in the past. I don't know why I was using it, but I was using it for I think I was trying to do vocals years ago, and I was like, I was like, man, I don't want to do this. I'm not naturally good at it. Um, Hey, B stock, ain't nothing wrong with a B stock, man. As long as it's working, that's good. I was set on getting the P6 and the Poly and Synth, going to wait until after the holidays for the used market. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I think the P6 at the price it's at, I mean, the P6 is not bad at the price it's at. I've had mine now for what, I don't know, a few weeks, month maybe, and I like it. I still like to go to it for the cassette and the vinyl sim. I like the filter in it. I like the sample rates is my favorite. The lo-fi alias in it is really cool. It's a good device. Now, am I gonna sit there and make a whole song in that thing? Absolutely not. I want to see some updates on it. Like the chopping is kind of not fun to me because you have to make a exact. Either you're gonna separately chop each piece somewhere else and then record those chops in, or you just make a full 4 bars and chop them evenly because that's all it does. Chop them evenly. I personally wish they would let you just chop it manually some kind of way, or listen to it as it plays and chop it or something. I don't know. It'd be cool, or at least move the chops. If it would let you move each one of the chops where you want it, that'd be pretty cool. But unfortunately, it doesn't do that right now. Um, January is a great time to scoop other people's tears. Yeah, I need help. Hey man, the P6 is great. Yeah, I mean, you know what? Getting somebody's used gear is cool. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I don't blame you. I mean, I um I personally just when it's something like this, I don't mind. This cost is so low, I don't mind this cost for what it is. Now, the higher stuff I get, like if you want to go get a Diggy Tone or Diggy Tac 2, yeah. So you like a Crazy Wabbit, you like the see, I didn't like the poly stuff that I tried. It always felt incomplete. I'm gonna look at the poly since you mentioned it. So I tried this one, Tracker Mini, didn't like it. This one I liked a little bit better, the Tracker Plus. Is this the Plus or the regular one? I like the Plus a little bit better than the Tracker Mini. They recently did a nice little fix on this, but this is a small company, So I, out of respect for them, they are a small company. I'm not saying they're a bad company. I just didn't like the fact that some of the stuff that I thought should have been fixed was not fixed out the gate. Barring some unusual, I am all in on used gear now. Hey man, ain't nothing wrong with that. Unless they are smoke. That's what I'm talking about. I can't do the smoking thing. Yeah, because I don't want my gear to stink. And it's hard to get smoke smells out of stuff. Like if you've ever had to clean something that had that, it's really hard to get it out. I don't make songs like the flow of just messing around. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. Well, no, I do too. I've recently come to appreciate that in Ableton, that a lot of my music starts from experimenting first, and then it leads me into finishing the music. But I'll do a lot of experimenting. In fact, like here's Ableton. I'll start out with just something that you see. I have it set to 32 bars. I don't know if you can tell. It's like set to 32. I'll do 16 to 32 bars of just experimental something happening, right? With some synth or whatever I'm using. And then I'll start building around that. Or if I'm chopping samples, I'll chop a bunch of stuff and then I'll just come back and find bits and pieces that I like and then start putting stuff together. Um, their fan club needs fixing. Yeah, their fan club does need fixing, and but they need some help, man. But we're talking about Polyen. They need help in getting their stuff more complete. Because the problem I saw with the devices I used from them was it was really cool. Like where it could go in your mind was like, oh man, this could be great for this, that, and the third. The problem was it was never a complete device. It was always missing something in their device. And I was like, wonder why they didn't put this in it. And that, I've come to realize something since I'm on this subject. Most of us are just beta testers, right? We're purchasing items to beta test for these companies and then telling them, hey, this item is missing that. Oh, great, thank you. And then they go and fix that, right? That's what this item is missing this. This item is like, did they not have a team of people that told them that before they sold it on the market? And I think we're honestly just beta testers. We're paid, we're not paid. We've bought into a company, right? Here's a Polyen, you buy into their company, and you're just beta testing for them. And they're like, hey, let's do this, that, and the third. The other day I started calculating the cost of the OPXY. So I went in, here's what I did. I'll show you. So the OPXY is $2,300. By the time you finish, it's about $2,500. I think is what it is with tax where I'm at least. So I calculated that over 10 years because the life of their thing is about 10 years. I think the OP1 is still going, and it was about 10 years really strong before they stopped doing updates, right? So imagine you get 10 years of updates, you pay $2,500. I'm talking about total. You're basically paying about $23 a month over the course of its 10 years to get this. You can say 25 if you want, $25 a month to keep this thing updated, right? You go out, you buy a cell phone, and you spend $2,000 on a cell phone or a $2,000 on an iPad. How much? How many years of that iPad do you think you're going to get out of it? Generally speaking, it's 5 years, right? After 5 years, the iPad may still work, but you're going to start seeing where you don't get updates. And there's a cutoff point. I think it might be 6 years, but they cut it off where you stop getting updates. But you just spent $2,000 on an iPad with, I don't know, let's say 250. Well, it'd have a little more than that. Probably be like 512 gigabytes of RAM, or maybe it's a terabyte, right, of RAM. So when I broke down the cost for myself for this versus that, now I understood why this price was here. I got it. It makes sense to me. Now, for somebody else, it may not make sense because they don't like it. That's okay. But if you buy an iPad at $22,000 and it lasts you 6 years, and this device lasts you 10 years, you got more life expectancy out of an OPXY than you did out of an iPad. And you're going to go re-up that iPad, and it's not going to be worth $500 or $600. It's going to be worth 150 bucks. They're going to sell it for $300 or less. This thing, you go back and sell it, I guarantee it's going to be worth at least $1,500. So do the math. In your head, do the math, and I promise you, I went to school for accounting, by the way, in case you want to know. Going to school for accounting, I started learning math is like it's figuring out these things, right? You invest in something, which this is more like a collector's item, and then down the road, you still have a kickback. Now you might say, well, it still depreciates, but that's everything in life. It depreciates. But if something can hold value that long for that kind of cost, you're not selling your iPhone that's from 6 years ago for the same, not even close to the cost that you paid for it, right? It's just not that way. So I don't know, just think about it. Yes, you get more use out of an iPhone, but a lot of times people don't know these things have an audio interface built into them. They also have a microphone built into them, which you can use to speak and record and do other things with it. So it's more use in it than people make it out to be. And I'm not justifying buying one. You do it if you want to, but I'm just saying any piece of gear you buy, what is the life expectancy of this poly-in synthesizer? Or what is the life, well, we don't need to look at that again. We already looked at, of this Strymon pedal. The typical new price was $429. They're dropping it out on savings. So you're saving $74 and getting it right here. It's a used one, obviously. But you got to ask yourself, what is it going to be worth in 5 or 6 years? Will you even want this thing in 5 or 6 years? That's the type of investment questions you have to ask yourself. I can't answer for you. Let's take a few more comments. I want Koala to drop gear. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately. I don't think the dev is really interested in doing anything like that. If it would be cool though if he reached out to someone else that would and somehow partnered with that situation, but I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately. The cool thing about Koala though is think about Koala's in your phone, Koala's on your tablet, Koala even is on the MacBook. It's on, I think it's on PC and beta, if I'm not mistaken. Those type of things are still available to you, and I mean they're free. I got it free on the MacBook. I think the PC version is free. There's a Linux version, if I'm not mistaken, that's free. And then, of course, you got to pay for the iOS versions and stuff like that. But I mean, you didn't pay much of nothing for it, really. I mean, 15 bucks is all I paid. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah, America's not making gear. It's too much of a hassle. He would lose money in some ways because you got to make the initial investment. Then you got things when they break. How do you repair it? And remember, he's one dev. I think he has some assistants now that help him, but he's one developer. So he's one guy trying to hold up this thing. He would have to sell out to a company or something that's willing to put it into a box. It'd be a little too much work. And I talk to him pretty often. Because I'm on the beta. Um, if Koala drop, yeah, we were talking about that. You need something to get your songs out to the world with TE. Something to get your songs out to the world with TE. Oh, well, see, here's the something with TE. But you're right. You do need. I think I know what you're saying. Here's the something. It's called Ableton. Like anything, you just record. You're recording on the go. You record it right into Ableton, and that's what you do. You play an idea, you come up with something that's really cool. It's a starter tool. You could probably make the whole song in there and live perform it right into Ableton, or live perform it into Koala and then export it as a MIDI and put out. There are people that love. You can record into AUM on the iPad, straight into AUM, and record right out, and you have your mix track right there on the spot. Set up a mixer channel on there. It's real simple to do. Power your OP, whatever you have, or whatever device you have. Even your Electron stuff can do that too. Plug it in and just record straight into there. Right? You got the iPad, just record it through the iPad. Anything you do, you can record into. Now with the phone, it's crazy. What's up, Ali Star? It's crazy what you can. There you go, Crazy Rabbit. You can screen record in the iPad. So you can do. There's so many options out right now to get music out, and people love buying albums and things, and supporting local people or people that are actually my recent album that I put out. DJ from the local area who has a radio station picked it up, bought it, and he likes to promote local people in the area I live in. So he featured my whole album on one of his shows, and then on a few other shows he would just play certain tracks he liked on his shows. His shows were like on Thursday and Sunday. So he was really cool, and he just bought my album. He didn't even really have to even do anything to tell me, but he did tell me that he was going to feature it on a show. So it came out pretty cool. It was just nice of him to do it, right? Promote it, and now people can go and buy the album. And I put the album at $3. So if a person wants to pay a little bit more to support, that's cool. If not, I wanted everybody that and anybody that wants to get it to be able to get it. What are we talking about? It's the USB-C iPad. Yeah, so I'm not sure if I know what you're saying on that one, but the USB-C. So if you have the latest iPhone, you got the USB-C on that, but you also got USB-C on the iPad. You can just literally record straight into. You can even do that with the P6. You can take the P6 and record right into the iPhone. It's a audio interface too. Same principle. I like to use it to process the samples through it. Um, doom, doom. Yep. Yeah, man. So the idea here is figure out what type of person you are. I think we all suffer from gas a little bit. I don't think any of us are exempt from that. We all learn to curve it. No, I don't miss the MPC keys. Nope, not at all. Here, watch this. Let me show you something. I'm gonna go to plugins. Look right here. Air delay pro. Can you see that? Let me zoom in. You can't see that. I'm gonna try to zoom in a little bit. I'll just pull them over here. It'll be easier for you to see. Look at that. Air Flavor Pro. Air. That's Air Flavor Pro. I'm sorry, the other one was Air Delay Pro. Guess what this one is? Soft Clipper. All the MPC stuff is right here. They give you you can just put it in your computer and just use it in the DAW. I mean, and guess what the MPC is? It's a piece of hardware with a pretty much a DAW built into it. It's gotten to that point now where, they give you an arranger. Um, I enjoyed the MPC keys. But all the plugins that I have on the MPC, I have them right here in my computer. I can run them through Ableton. So I don't miss that at all. That's the one piece of gear I realize I don't miss. Let me zoom out just a little bit. I kind of went too far in. No React. No, absolutely not. You know what? Ever since I got the launch key, the Novation launch key, man, this thing is amazing. I actually like it, enjoy it way more than the MPC Key 37. It doesn't take up nearly as much space. Um, the scale locks, the everything in here, the pads, the 8 knobs across the top, all work with Ableton really well. You can use them for other stuff too. The ARP in this thing is pretty incredible. I never liked an ARP, but this one is really good. Custom pads, being able to put down your chords and hold a pad, and then it'll basically trigger that chord. There's too much, and this thing is way cheaper. So what was this thing like right around 200, a little over $200 for this launch key. So yeah, I don't miss that MPC at all. I was never a drummer, so I never use the pads on the MPC. Always good to chat. Enjoy your content, Elijah. Yeah, appreciate you, Crazy Wabbit. Yeah, man, we're just keeping it real and talking about gear and trying to see how we can, tone down our gas, but at the same time, figure out what type of person. Everybody's learning who they are as you grow in life. You get older, right? You start learning like, this means more, that means less. So we're just learning. Best small NPC is still to come, I think. Yeah, I agree with you, Ali Star. I'm 100%. If they ever come out with something that's portable, kind of like an OP1 or something like that, small and portable, or even like the Ableton Move. I'm not a big fan of the Ableton Move, and I love Ableton. Part of the reason is I feel like it's super incomplete, and from what I've seen videos of, and I'm like, it doesn't. There's nothing in it that like moves me, drum roll, to actually get the thing, not at the cost to where it's at. Now, see, that's one that's the cheaper than this, but I don't like it that much. I'm like, it doesn't really. I don't know why it just doesn't move me to want to get it. Every time I see it, I'm like, And you know what? It's funny because I've played on the Ableton Push 2. I didn't like the Push 2. I just couldn't get with it. I don't know why. But if you look here, let me see if I can turn my camera so you guys can see this. Hold on one second. Let me show you something. You saw the Ableton Move. You kind of know what it looks like. Look at this keyboard. Oh, I'm gonna tighten this up. I can do step. Hold on, let me turn it on so you can see it. See this? Watch this. If I come in here, I hit shift and I hit this. Where is it? Transport. It's right here. Sequencer. Clip. Sequencer. It's a sequencer in here. See that? All right. Go back to user chord mode. I got a little screen, but I can see all my chords that I'm pressing, playing, whatever. So that's why I don't miss the MPC. That's why I'm not really interested in the Move. I just don't have a desire to use this. I prefer keys. I do like the step sequencer at the bottom. I do like some of the features in it. It's pretty cool. And I think that's great as a standalone. It's kind of nice that they made it, but I wish they would have allowed you to use more of the Ableton tools that are available on the actual DAW versus like what only having 4 tracks. And I know everybody talks about you can use the workarounds, but don't really interest me. I don't know. Biggest flaw of MPC I realized recently is the amazing screen. It can only get so small before you can't read it. Yeah, that's true. I mean, as I get older too, I know my vision is not the greatest, but yeah, you can't read. If I can't see the thing, I mean, how in the world is that going to benefit me? Trying to straighten this out a little bit here. So I need to be able to see it. Oh, you cooking with that keyboard? Oh yeah, you talking about the launch key? Yeah, I do. Everything I do is with the launch key. Yeah. I mean, I can do it without the launch key. I can do it on the QWERTY keyboard, but yeah, I actually make my music with the launch key. It is nice. And it's smaller than the previous versions. It's got your MIDI capture button right there. All your transport bars is right on it. You got the pad. You can drum if you want to on the pads. They're actually really nice. You got all your knobs. So if you touch a plug-in on the Ableton, You can like tweak the knobs right there with those 8 encoders, endless encoders. You got your 2 wheels, octave buttons, chord maps, fixed chords, all that stuff, the arpeggiator. You can record all that in real quick. It's super easy. So, and you can switch between tracks and do all that kind of stuff too. So yeah, the launch key is really nice. And for 200 bucks, I mean, it's really good. This is a 37. You could go 49 and get the sliders if you want those faders. I don't really want that personally. I don't use a fader. I just use the mouse. I'm more of a mouse person anyway. But yeah, it's kind of cool. So anyway, so I didn't mess with the move. It was kind of like, no, nah, not doing that. This one, I'm just Polyen comes with some neat stuff, but man, I'm just not as impressed after trying a couple of their different ones. It's not that they're bad, it's just I wasn't impressed. This is one of the boards I had was the Hydrosynth Explorer that I love this board. This board here for a synth for 650, if you like FM type synthesizers, but they sound real this one sounds really good to me. Hold on, I was trying to zoom in for you, but this is a different model, like a newer model where they made it orange. I actually like the color of it. But they have this button that's like right here. It's called, oh, I'm sorry, it's right here. So a random button. And when you click this button, it can randomize all the preset stuff in here. And man, this thing sounds so good. For FM synth, if you just need an FM, this one is nice. It can run on batteries too. It's got your, it doesn't have the wheels, which I was disappointed in. I would have kept it if it had the wheels. You do have to plug it in if you're not going to use batteries. It can't power through just the USB-C. You have to actually have power cable or use batteries to run the power. And I think it's like 6 or 8 recharge batteries that you need. But anyway, yeah, the Hydrosynth, really good keyboard. And there's a lot of people that make presets for it. You can make your own presets and store them. But yeah, this thing is really cool. Look at that beautiful orange. I'm not usually into orange, but I like this one. I'm more into green, but whatever. Yeah, and for 650, now I got mine when I bought it on sale for 499. So you can catch them on sale sometimes. I don't know what this is. Oh, this is Chicago Music Exchange. But if you go to like Sweetwater and different places, sometimes they'll be on sale in certain places. Depending on where you live, you have to look around. But I got it for 499, which is a steal, in my opinion. Yeah, and that's the OPXY. So, and I do think what you said is true, Ali Star, that I do believe they're going to come out with another one, an MPC that's smaller. I think they're going to hit the portable market. I think they realize that there is um, a huge group of people that really want to see portability. T kind of steered that way with the portability. There's other stuff that's come out. You guys heard of the Seek track. I'm not touching the Seek track. I don't, if I'm going step sequencer, I always wanted the OPZ just for portability to try it, but the sounds in it were so bad. They sound so chip tuney, and nothing wrong with chip tune, but I don't like that kind of stuff. It's like, nah, that ain't it for me. But I've heard some people make some chip tune that were good, but I just that's not me. The OP1, same thing. All that OP1, the OPXY, yes, but the OP1 feel those cheap sounding synths in there. They sound really old and outdated. Yeah, I'm not interested. So hopefully MPC will make something. That'd be pretty cool. I bet that synth got some fat buzz. Hey, there was somebody on with that Hydrosynth that made the Moog sounds on it, and it was like incredible. They made a Moog bass out of it. Some people are really good at that and talented. They know how to design stuff and make really cool sounds from stuff. I'm not that guy, unfortunately. I don't know how to sound design, but yeah. But I tell you what, if you're even interested in looking at this video, don't force yourself to do it if you don't want to. But Ricky, what's Ricky's? I don't know Ricky's last name, but Ricky did a OPXY video where he had this little song where he used one chord or something like that, It was really nice. I actually like it. I'm not into dance music that much, but I really liked his music. I thought it was sounding really good. And then Henny the you guys know who Henny the business is. He's got the OPXY now, and he put some. If you're on his Instagram or whatever, he put some videos out of him using it, making different little songs. His stuff was sounding really good. I was like, wow, that's incredible. So check that out if you're just interested in. Yeah, Tynes, thank you. I think it's Tynes or something like that. So yeah, Ricky Tynes. Yeah, I was shocked. He makes some pretty cool stuff though. I was never really paid attention to his music as much because, like I said, it's dance music, but his stuff was really nice. That he did. Oh, and the what's the other guy that people were bad mouthing that they shouldn't have been doing? It's terrible. They were bad mouthing this older guy, and he was really. I actually liked his music. He did a video about the hatred towards recently towards him that people were showing because he got the OPXY for free from TE. But if you listen to that video where he's talking about that, the music he's making in the background, man, it sounds so good. Anyway, I like a little bit of everybody's music. I just don't make everybody's music. You know what I'm saying? Like you can appreciate some artistry of other people but you don't have to actually make that music. So yeah. Like I love Ali Starr's music. Um, what was his name? We'll have to look him up on YouTube. Let's see if I can find him on YouTube. I'll find him for you because it's not a lot of OPXP users yet because it's still kind of new, and of course the price. There he is right here. So this video he's talking about, he was getting hatred. He was talking. His name is Ura Music. Check him out on. Let's see, where's that video? We could probably just go into his name. I don't want to play it because I don't want to get copyright strike, but where I just saw him. Where did he go? Oh, right there. I'm gonna click on his name, go to videos. This one right here, addressing the hate or addressing the noise. He put noise, turning hate into harmony. This right here, I love that stuff that he makes. Like check him out. It's not your typical jazz that I would listen to or anything like that. It's kind of like ambient slash something else. But I really like his stuff. So Ura Music, check him out. And he seems like a very heartfelt, sincere guy too, who kind of tells you, like if he doesn't like something, he'll tell you. Yeah, I'm not about to get a strike. Free from TE, that's kind of crazy. Yeah, but you know what? This dude, first of all, he has like 35.7 thousand subscribers. He's got really don't have a lot of videos, but I think he does a pretty good job on his editing. And people like him. Look at his views 11,000 views, 32,000 on this one. Of course, that's a new product, but he averages around 10,000 views. The guy gets people looking. He's into gear more than he is anything else. So I think TE targets people that they know really like their gear and enjoy gear. And this guy always is talking about gear. So you know who I'm shocked doesn't get any gear or doesn't get, as far as I know, he doesn't get free gear. You guys know who Sun Wu is? He buys a lot of his gear. Not that Sun Wu. This Sun Wu. So this is him talking about it. He doesn't actually have it yet, but Sun Wu is into TE gear. He does pretty good stuff, pretty good music. But yeah, check him out if you haven't looked at his stuff. But this guy's stuff here, I don't know why these people be hating on it. It's like they're hating on the product, but then they want the product. It's like if you want it, you shouldn't hate on it just because you can't get it right now. Just relax. But the one that I was listening to at Ricky was this one. It's called the OPXY. Just blew my mind. So take a listen to that one. Cuckoo did one if you're interested in that, and then you to hear Henny's stuff, you got to IG and check out Henny the Business to hear his music. He's did pretty good. I can't play it for you guys on here because I don't want to deal with his copyright strike stuff. Um, Overbridge recently. Oh yeah. Because you got the heat. Yep, that's still something I always wanted was the heat. Um, I'll rephrase that, telling people free from TE. Well, that's asking for it. TE is not the problem. The problem is the people, right? The problem is people have fixated their minds on what they think something should be, but they don't make the product. So who have you seen that actually makes OP1 or OP field, OP1 field or the OPXY and make it as cool as they make it? TE is a designer company. They did furniture, they do other stuff. They're not just music. And so they make stuff at a high end designer type stuff, boutique stuff. If you go get boutique pedals, which I don't advise anybody to do unless you just got the money or you're performing live. But if you go here and look at anything like Strymon, you never hear a person call up Strymon and say, "Why is Strymon selling this pedal for $600?" Or and these are used. Some of these are used, but this is brand new. Look, $700 almost. Why is Strymon selling this stuff for $429? Because they don't use it. They don't have a need for it. They like, oh, it's just a pedal. It doesn't really matter. But there's a reason why it's a cost on this pedal. It's a lot more effort and put into the sound of it, right? It sounds really. By the way, I like this pedal a lot right here. Um, so there's a lot to this pedal. They don't know these companies are smaller companies. This, Akai can put out something cheaper because they outsource the work. They're not giving you the highest components, the highest stuff. So they can outsource the work and get it cheaper and then give you a cheaper quality product. And we all know that, right? That's why you can afford an MPC more or less these days because they know that it's not the top notch components in there or sound. And it's okay. You don't buy it for that, right? You buy it for the workflow. We all know you buy that for the workflow. I like to know TE factory standards. Yeah, you know what? There's a video. If you look up a video for TE, teenage engineering, they put a video out. I want to say it talks about the KO and they show you the KO and how they made it much cheaper. And I think they recycled parts or something from projects that they were working on. Because if you look at it, like the speakers and the things all look kind of similar to the other products they put out. But if you have to go through and find that video, but if you can find one directly from here, they go teenage engineering. I believe they put one on here that talked about the making of. Well, here's one where they made a logger, right? So they went and did that. But they had, here you go, right here, behind the scenes of the TX6 field mixer. So go to their actual thing and watch their thing where they show it, the components, how they do it, and etc. And then you got to look into, well, how much does that cost them? What is it? How long are they going to update these products? Are these products getting updates for 10, 15 years? Are they holding their value? All that stuff matters. So if they're charging you a little bit more, then you get it. Do I think they could charge less? Maybe, but I really don't know, to be honest with you. I have no clue what goes in. I've never made a product like this ever in my life. So I have no clue. And guess what? I ain't really even worried about it. It just is what it is. But yeah, check out some of the behind the scenes stuff they do where they show you the building of it. Not this stuff, the stuff that's kind of gimmicky, but the actual stuff where they break down how they put it together or what the idea, So there's a lot of people that have to get paid, a lot of stuff that happens with this. Prices are what they are. We can't change the prices because we complain about it. There's people that aren't going to complain, they're just going to go buy it. So those are the kind of people they market into. And if you look here, 86,000 subscribers. So 86,000 people enjoy. I'm one of them, obviously. 86,000 people enjoy their stuff. I do. I enjoy it. Now, I don't like everything they do, and I don't agree with everything they make is like something. I'm not going to go buy this beer. It probably is nasty too. I don't know. But I'm not going to go buy it. I'm not even going to try it. So I'm not worried about it. You like Moog? Yeah, Moog is amazing, bro. Some of their stuff. But you know what's cool too with Moog? And this is something I would say to teenage engineering. Why not put out an app version? They do have something for Android, but it's kind of like whatever. But put out an app version of some of these hardware synths so that people can buy the app. Sell the app for like a couple $100. That's a steal right there. Then you'll have people that could just use the app on their phone or whatever and still feel like they're a part of the community and get some usage out of it. Just put an app out and charge people for it. Anyway, that's my motto on how they could fix all the hatred. Just do something like that. And then the people that can afford the gear can buy the gear. Just like you have MPC can put out the MPC gear, but then they also have MPC software that you can buy if you just want to use the software. Anyway, that's my fix it for teenage engineering. And they ain't listening at all, one bit. So it don't matter. Um, so Moog was only expensive because handmade and necessity to drink champagne. That was funny. Moog is fire. Yeah, Moog is fire. I made a beat with the Virtuoso on Quest 3 was dope. Yeah, so I mean roads are expensive, man. Go try to buy a Rhodes somewhere. Let's look at that. Since we're talking about gear. Now I saw one of these in the store the other day at Guitar Center, and it was about $2,600. I don't know. Remember, I think it was a Mark One. Can't remember. This is a Mark Two. This is a Mark One. Here's a Mark 8 that they recently came out with. $10,000 and some change. Now you can buy the software and use the plugin. I think the plugin is about 150 bucks. That's what I'm talking about. Like if you're gonna make this, just make a plugin of it emulating the same sound and put the plugin out for those that can't afford the gear and let them just buy that and then they'll be happy. That's how you fix that. It's like you can't afford the gear. Okay, cool. Get this plugin. And Rhodes Anthology is so amazing. I'm actually using it. I've used it on 3 songs in my album that I'm working on right now that I'll put out once I finish about 10 songs. I'm going to put it out. But I did 3 songs and all of them I used the Rhodes, the new Rhodes plugin. So I'm just saying it's available. They've made it more accessible these days, whereas in the past, if you didn't have the money to buy a hardware piece of gear like this, you just didn't have a Rode sound. You couldn't go find that on a computer somewhere. So I don't know what people complaining about. You don't have to buy the hardware, just buy the software. Appreciate you, Sim. Yep. I'm gonna be getting off soon. I think my phone's gonna die, and I don't want it to die on the midway through the stream. So I'd rather say my goodbyes before it kills on me. Um, Again, this video is just focusing on figuring out ourselves more or less. It's not about saying what to do or not do, but we all have a bit of gas. Some people are gear hoarders, some people are collectors, some people are players. I meant to put that in the title versus a player, right? So a player is going to play with the instruments. If he don't play it, he probably ain't keeping it, right? Collector is he just going to collect. And a gear hoarder is just somebody who gets the stuff just to get it, but they have no real reason to use it. They don't use it. They just stack gear. And of course, you can do any of those if you want to. It's your choice. But in my opinion, I would say find a happy medium with one of them and live within that if you can, right? And the main thing is enjoy the music you're making and have fun because the gear is what it is. You can't take it to the grave with you. Somebody else gonna use it after that. So just enjoy the gear that you have. If you only have stuff on software, just use that for right now until you feel like you can afford. But don't buy everything just because you can. I mean, well, do it if you can, if you want to, but don't go kill yourself trying to get a piece of gear if you really can't afford it. It's more important to take care of your families and eat and have health, good health, than it is to be stressed out about a piece of gear. It's not going to give you any better life. I promise that. Pass it on to someone who appreciates it. Exactly. Somebody going to take it from you when you're gone. So, I mean, it is what it is. You might as well just go on and sell it off and get yourself something new. All right, guys. Appreciate all of you stopping in. Ali Star, Sim City, of course, Crazy Wabbit, and then I believe somebody else came in earlier. Yeah, Beats by Barton, and anybody that didn't say anything that just came in to listen to me talk. Appreciate you too. And until the next video, I'm out.